All right, so it's Christmas, and you find yourself spending long periods of time with family and extended family. There's a lot of food, there's drink, maybe there's board games, I don't know. There's long periods of time and you don't really have much to do. But there certainly will be television, and most of the films on TV are probably going to be bad, maybe a few good ones. I'm going to give you a list of 10 movies to watch this Christmas. And no, they're not all Christmas movies, by the way. There's only so many times you can watch It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street or A Christmas Carol. Mind you, I do quite like the Patrick Stewart 1999 version of A Christmas Carol. But you can't keep watching Home Alone. Okay, they've played that movie like to death at this point. It's on TV all the time at Christmas. And you can't keep watching cringe like Love Actually. Okay, for God's sake, have some self-respect. So today, I'm giving you some movies that are just good to watch at Christmas because you've realized how painfully boring the season actually is, and maybe you don't have nearly as much to talk about with your family as you thought you did. By the way, I'm not going to recommend the first Die Hard movie. It's a great film. It's a great action movie. It takes place at Christmas, but it's on TV all the time, and you've already seen it a million times. It's a bit too obvious. It's kind of like if I recommended Iron Man 3. It's just too obvious. It's an MCU movie, and it's based during Christmas. I get it, but I'm not going to recommend it. Likewise, I'm not going to recommend Star Trek Generations for the same reason. Okay, so anyway, in no particular order, here's 10 movies to watch this Christmas. Number 1, Edge of Tomorrow from 2014. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt star in this fantastic sci-fi action movie where humanity is locked in a brutal war against the Mimics, an alien race. But Tom Cruise's character of Major William Cage is killed in an explosion with an alpha mimic, and for some reason, he becomes locked in a time loop, repeating the same day over and over, kind of like Groundhog Day. You don't need to watch Groundhog Day again, okay? Just watch this instead. I'm trying to avoid repetition here. So he has to relive the same battle over and over again until he can figure out a way to alter his future fate. It's an excellent film that I hope they never ruin with a sequel. Number 2, Non-Stop. I've only recently watched this film. This is also from 2014. This film stars Liam Neeson and Julianne Moore, and they're on a plane bound from New York to London. He's a sky marshal named Bill Marks, and he begins receiving these mysterious and threatening texts on his phone from some anonymous person, and apparently they're on the plane, and they're stating that someone aboard will die every 20 minutes unless they receive $150 million into a secure bank account. But the bigger problem is that Bill soon discovers that he's being played, he's being manipulated. The situation is being engineered in such a way as to make it look like he's the hijacker. This film is tense, it's close quarters, it's filled with suspense, paranoia, it's claustrophobic, it's nail-biting. It's really well worth your time. Number 3, The Majestic from 2000, starring Jim Carrey. We do need some family-friendly crowd pleasers on this list. You know, some schmaltz for the season. It's a good movie. Jim Carrey stars as a Hollywood writer accused of having communist sympathies during the height of the McCarthy era. He's then in a car accident. He loses his memory and washes up on a beach in the town of Lawson, a town that's lost a lot of young men to the war. He's mistaken for the son of a man who owns a dilapidated movie theatre called The Majestic. I won't say much more. It's a heartwarming story. The brilliant Martin Landau also stars. It's probably Jim Carrey's best serious performance, in my view. Number 4, Jack Reacher from 2012, the first film in the series. Although the second one, it's not as good, but it's not that bad. It's not as bad as people say that it is. But the first film is very good. This is another Tom Cruise movie, obviously. So Jack's a homicide investigator who's investigating a mass shooting. 5 people were murdered in what appears to be a totally random attack. They have the suspect in custody. Reacher is brought in to investigate further, and he soon discovers there's a lot more going on. It's a really engaging conspiracy. It's an intelligent story, a resourceful protagonist. If you like Jason Bourne type movies, I think you really like this. Number 5, Risen. Well, it is Christmas. Might as well have a film about the man himself. Risen is a 2016 film based in 33 AD, starring Joseph Fiennes, and it's about a Roman soldier named Clavius who was instructed to locate the body of Jesus Christ after he was crucified and placed into the tomb. So basically, his body is missing and Clavius has to find it. He's skeptical of claims that Jesus has risen from the dead, and so he has to try to track down Christ's disciples. It's well worth a watch. Number 6, The Count of Monte Cristo from 2002. Yes, many people prefer the original movie, but I think this is a fine film by itself. It's beautifully shot, great music, and Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce put in superb performances. It's based on Alexander Dumas' classic novel. It's an uplifting redemption story of Edmond Dantes, who is wrongly imprisoned and eventually escapes against incredible odds to discover a hidden treasure, and then he goes to seek his revenge on his rival. It's a powerful story of discovering faith and hope in the darkest of places. Speaking of which, honourable mention goes to The Shawshank Redemption. You can't go wrong with that one either. Number 7, Clue from 1985. You can't go wrong with this hilarious comedy murder mystery, also based on the board game. So now you don't have to play the board game at the kitchen table this Christmas. Just watch this movie instead. I love the film's atmosphere, the performances, the memorable dialogue, and some genuinely creepy moments here and there. Plus, there's 3 different endings, making it a very unique movie. It's set in the 1950s. It's a situation movie based entirely in one location of an old mansion in New England. So it's a whodunit mystery, lots of twists and surprises. It's quirky and fun, and again, it's always a crowd pleaser. And speaking of crowd pleasers, I'll give you this classic on the list. It's a bit obvious, but for the older folk in the house, they'll appreciate this, and it sure beats rewatching Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's Casablanca from 1942. This iconic Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman film doesn't need much of an introduction. It's a cinematic masterpiece and a highly culturally influential film. Rick Blaine runs a nightclub in Casablanca filled with undesirable underworld types and refugees fleeing Europe. Suddenly, Rick's former love interest, Ilsa, shows up, and his world begins to spiral, and he's forced to confront his past and rediscover the hero he used to be during the war. Incredibly quotable, brilliant acting, just a beautiful movie all around. Now, going from one extreme to the other, number 9, we're definitely shifting gears here, which is definitely an appropriate term. There has to be one turn your brain off popcorn action movie on the list. I'm going for a Fast and Furious movie, folks. The best one of the series is probably number 5. The dumbest is probably number 9. That also works actually quite well if that's what you're looking for. But Fast 5 was released in 2011 and was the first movie in the series to move into the heist genre, as the series has sort of reinvented itself a few times. The series was already doing, physics-defying stunts, but this one managed to make it all seem almost believable in some way, and the primary setting of the movie, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, really works very well. The chemistry between the cast is excellent, the action is top-notch, great soundtrack. It's over the top, of course, the dialogue is hammy in places, but it's fun, and most of the stunts were actually done practically, as opposed to the later films that relied way too much on CGI. Finally, number 10. This is actually very difficult to choose a 10th and final film. I was going to go with Blade Runner 2049, which is a very good shout in its own right. But I think for Christmas, maybe we need less dystopia, right? So that's why I'm going with The Fifth Element from 1997, a bit more of a colourful, fun sci-fi movie. This Luc Besson-directed movie, starring Bruce Willis, is among my favourites and an easy watch. A very easy watch. Memorable visuals, so many great lines. It's light, entertaining, it's strange in a good kind of way, and Eric Serra's musical score is dreamlike, eclectic, and highly atmospheric. It's a soundscape, much like the original Blade Runner movie. It has that kind of vibe. The comedy works, the serious moments offer a great contrast. It's just a story about good versus evil. It's very simple, but in a really amazing, incredibly realized future universe, you really can't go wrong with The Fifth Element. So that's my list of 10 films to watch this Christmas. comment below and leave your recommendations for people to check out. Of course, there's only one book to read this Christmas, though, isn't there? I mean, obviously, the Bible. Also, Deus V Machina, a Cody Stockton mystery, which is my debut sci-fi novel, available from the links below, which I really haven't plugged enough recently, have I? Excluding the previous 7 videos this month in which I shilled it already. Anyway, thank you to everyone who purchased a copy. The links are below for those of you who haven't, by the way. So go ahead and slap it on your Kindle or listen to the audiobook. Tell me what you think. And if you purchase the paperback, it should arrive probably at the beginning of next year. Anyway, Merry Christmas to everyone, Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.